Did you know that the Bible might hold the key to understanding the origins of Europeans? What if these ancient scriptures offer hidden clues about the rise of European nations? Let's delve into this fascinating mystery, uncovering clues that have never been revealed before. This story will take you back to ancient times where it all began. You surely won't want to miss the incredible revelations waiting in the next part. In the Bible, genealogies are important markers that help us understand the origins of nations. The Bible indicates that after the Great Flood, Noah's descendants migrated to various lands, and it is through these migrations that great civilizations began to form. The generations of Noah's descendants laid the foundations for the great civilizations of Europe. They not only built cities but also created great empires that left a mark in history. It is through these conflicts that the Bible also reveals deep connections with European history. The stories in the Bible are not mere legends. They are reminders of great battles, and in these great works we see the shadow of the Bible, deeply influencing civilizations. Let's explore more about this mysterious connection in the untold stories of the Bible. The Bible has always been a subject of intense study, with scholars examining it from multiple angles: historical, theological, and cultural. Among these interpretations, one significant element is the genealogy of the biblical figures. The book of Genesis outlines the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They were believed to be the fathers of all nations, and Japheth, in particular, is often linked with the origins of European peoples. According to Genesis 10, Japheth's descendants spread out over the earth and became the ancestors of various groups, including those that would eventually populate Europe. The descendants of Japheth were said to include the peoples of the ancient Greeks, Romans, Scythians, and the various tribes of Europe. But how does this correlate with what we know about European history? Some scholars argue that the migrations from the Near East after the Tower of Babel helped shape the very foundation of European societies. Could it be that the biblical story of human dispersion directly parallels the movements of ancient European peoples? The story of Japheth's descendants is not just a historical account, but a map that explains how ancient peoples shaped the world as we know it today. This suggests that the migrations from the Tower of Babel may have influenced the formation of European nations. Could we view this story in a new light to better understand the connection between the Bible and European history? The connection between Japheth's tribes and European nations could unlock new insights into our history. Perhaps this story is the key to understanding the development of European nations throughout history. The Bible is not just an ancient story, but a mirror reflecting the formation and development of great nations. So, can we further understand the development of Europe through these stories? The biblical story of human dispersion is not just a myth, but a trace of real migrations. Perhaps it was these migrations that helped European peoples develop their distinct cultural, religious, and social traits. These civilizations, believed to be descendants of Japheth, created cultural legacies that remain prominent to this day. The great achievements of these civilizations may partly reflect the influence of the migrations from the Tower of Babel. This story is not just history, but a journey that leads us to a deeper understanding of Europe's distant origins. These migrations not only shaped history, but also contributed to defining the culture, faith, and modern European nations. So, is the biblical story of Japheth the key to understanding modern Europe today? One of the most fascinating and often overlooked aspects of this biblical narrative is the prophecy regarding Japheth's descendants. In Genesis 9:27, Noah blesses Japheth, saying, "May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem." This phrase is seen by many scholars as a prophetic declaration, hinting at the eventual dominance of Japheth's descendants in the Western world, including Europe. This blessing is not just a historical observation, but a prophetic vision, foretelling the rise of European civilizations. One key factor is the spread of Christianity across Europe, which shaped much of Western culture. From the teachings in the Bible, Europeans built a strong civilization, with Christianity as its foundation. This helps bridge the gap between biblical prophecy and the development of European nations. And from this, we can clearly see that the dominance of Japheth's descendants is reflected through key historical events. This prophecy is not just a prediction, but a profound message about the connection between faith and prosperity. Throughout history, European nations have spread their influence globally. From explorations to the rise of empires, we cannot ignore the strong presence of Christian values in every step of Western civilization. Thus, Noah's blessing on Japheth is a prophecy, a guiding light for the development of Europe. And through the spread of Christianity, this prophecy became an inseparable part of the prosperity of European nations. Therefore, this prophecy is not just a story in the Bible, but a part of a larger story about the formation and development of Europe. In these ancient cities, the mark of Christian influence remains, reflecting the spread of the prophecy in the Bible. The prophecy about Japheth is not just about territorial spread, but also the prosperity of great civilizations. Scholars throughout history have found the connection between this prophecy and the development of Europe through the centuries. From great wars to the establishment of empires, the prophecy of Japheth seems ever present. This prophecy is most clearly manifested through the spread of Christian faith as part of Europe's cultural heritage. With explorations and the expansion of empires, European nations carried Japheth's prophecy across the world. This prophecy became an inseparable part of Europe's civilization, expressed through religion and culture. Looking back through history, we clearly see the strong influence of this prophecy on the progress of European nations. Europe not only built empires but also led the way in spreading cultural and religious influence worldwide. The prophecy of Japheth may not have been immediately clear, but through the centuries, it became a key factor in the development of European civilizations. And like a new beginning, Japheth's prophecy continues to influence not only history, but also the culture of Europe. Thus, this prophecy has shaped a part of European history, influencing every aspect from religion to culture, and continues to persist today. The implications of these interpretations are profound. If Japheth's descendants are indeed the progenitors of European nations, then the Bible offers a narrative of unity and dispersion that resonates with modern identity and ethnicity. The spread of Christianity throughout Europe, for instance, can be seen as the fulfillment of Noah's blessing, with European nations becoming the strongholds of Christian civilization. However, this also raises questions about ethnicity, culture, and the concept of chosen people. Does this biblical perspective imply a divine favor or simply reflect historical migrations and cultural assimilation? Perhaps the Bible is not just a story of migrations, but also part of a cultural shift as European peoples assimilated and formed their own distinct identities. When we look at Europe today, we can see how biblical influences have shaped much of the religious and cultural identity of these nations. However, the question arises, is European identity a result of ethnic dispersion, or is it the formation of a unified culture? Can the Bible help us understand the complexity of religion, culture, and ethnicity in shaping European history? We can see that the Bible is not just a historical record, but also part of a cultural evolution, connecting peoples and beliefs across time. The story of Japheth's descendants is not just an ancient tale, but an integral part of the story of Europe's formation. This story, though rooted in the Bible, has had a profound influence and has become part of Europe's cultural and religious heritage. The question we must face is, will this story continue to influence Europe's identity in the future? So how will this story change the way we perceive Europe today? Surely, the story of Japheth and his legacy will continue to be explored and studied. This story not only reflects the past, but also opens up important questions for Europe's future. The biblical story of Japheth may not only be a description of the past, but also a lesson for us on how we face our cultural identity today. The legacies of Japheth exist not only in ancient texts, but also in every nation and people of Europe. These religious and cultural monuments may serve as living evidence of the connection between the past and the present. These migrations change not only the social structure, but also the deep cultural values of the European peoples. While cultural integration and development are inevitable, Europe's identity still carries the influence of ancient stories. They are exploring the connections between ancient stories and the formation of modern cultures. Just like today's artists, we continue to create based on the solid foundations of the past. Today, Europe stands as a living testimony to the blending of cultures and beliefs, stemming from the ancient migrations of its peoples. These festivals and events are evidence of the enduring cultural values, despite the changes and development over time. Each symbol, each structure, is part of a story that continues to be told across generations. The connection between the past and the future is the key to understanding Europe's identity in the 21st century. To conclude, the biblical origins of Europeans, rooted in the descendants of Japheth, invite us to reflect on the deeper connections between faith and history. Whether we view these scriptures as literal or metaphorical, they offer a unique lens through which to understand the ancient past of Europe. From the spreading of nations after the Tower of Babel to the Christianization of the West, the Bible serves as both a historical record. The Bible is not only a historical record, but also a prophecy that helped shape the course of European civilization. With the spread of beliefs and values from the Bible, we clearly see the deep influence of Christian faith in every step of Europe's development. The story of Japheth and his descendants is not just a chapter in the Bible, but a part of the larger story of the formation and development of Western civilization. The Bible not only shaped the faith of people, but also contributed to shaping cultures, nations, and religions worldwide. The combination of faith and history created a powerful European civilization, where faith, culture, and history intertwined. Looking at the achievements and heritage of Europe today, we cannot deny that the prophecy and biblical history still strongly influence. The Bible story lives on in studies and explorations, inspiring those who wish to understand the deeper connections between faith and history. And from these connections, we can draw an important lesson about sustainable development and the importance of faith in today's society. So let this story continue to live within us and reflect on the importance of faith and history in shaping our future. Thus, the story of Japheth is not just a prophecy, but also a valuable lesson for all of us. And if we understand and apply these lessons, we will see that history and faith can still guide us to a bright future. That is the power of faith and history, capable of guiding us through all challenges. So, let us reflect on these stories and let them be a source of inspiration for us in life. Japheth's prophecy is not just an ancient story, but a lesson about faith and the connection between the past and present. And through this, we see that every story in the Bible has a profound meaning and application in today's life. So let Japheth's prophecy become a part of our lives and lead us to a deeper understanding of faith and history. Let the light of the Bible illuminate our path, helping us to understand more about ourselves and the world around us. Each story in the Bible contains timeless values, serving as inspiration for future generations. Let us not only read, but also live according to the teachings in the Bible, bringing peace and prosperity to ourselves. The story of Japheth is proof that faith can unite all of us, regardless of our differences. Let the understanding of Bible stories enrich our spiritual lives. With the lessons from the Bible, we can build a brighter future for ourselves and our communities. So let us reflect on these stories and let them guide us to a meaningful and hopeful life. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this interpretation of European origins according to the Bible. Do you think these biblical genealogies hold more significance than we realize? Drop your comments below and let's continue this conversation. And if you're fascinated by biblical history, don't forget to check out our next video on the influence of biblical prophecies on modern culture. Thanks for watching and see you next time.